I am truly grateful to be here. I was given the gift of hearing one of your tapes in April of this year.
Yes.
And listened to has warmed me, excited me. It's like I've known this.
You do know.
But I don't know how to activate it.
Yes.
And, well, obviously I'm not.
Well, here's the thing. Are you saying to us that you're not done?
Well, I guess I am.
Are you saying to us that there's a gap between where you stand and where you'd like to stand on some subjects?
Huge.
And are you saying to us that it feels now impossible or possible?
It's possible. I want it to be possible.
The reason that we are sort of feeling through this with you a little bit is because we think that what you came today to talk about has moved considerably just in what you've heard as you've been sitting here.
You're absolutely right.
And so we want to start in this place. Out of all of the things that we want for you, for all of you, we want you to leave this gathering here today no longer unhappy with where you are, because Yuma is not your destination. Now think about it. Think about it. When you're leaving Phoenix and you're now in Yuma and you're on your way to San Diego, you don't have a meltdown because you're in Yuma. In other words, you don't just freak out, oh my God, what have I done? I'm in Yuma. You understand that you're on your way. And so what we want you to begin feeling is, so what is the difference? Wherever you are is where you are, and thank goodness you know where you want to be. And we want to point out that no matter where you are or who you are or how you feel, every single person on the planet and every single consciousness in the universe has this same experience of being here and having a desire to be here. In other words, it is the promise of this eternal universe. You're always, 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 always going to be on your way to something more, always. And when you relax and accept that and stop beating up on yourself for not being someplace that you're not, and instead embracing where you are while you keep your eye on where you're going, now life becomes really, 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 really fun.
Oh, I can feel that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
What is it that you want so much that you feel is right now out of reach?
I need peace with the relationship with my mother. I've been taking care of her for 13 years. She's 96 at this point in time.
Yes. Do you think if she was gone, that peace would ensue immediately?
The peace isn't going to come until it's inside of me. It's my job to get there. And
so does it really have so much to do with your now relationship with her? Or does it?
Since I have heard your tapes, I have moved to a better place. I have lived with resentment, anger, guilt, because I...
Well, like, want to be weird. Navigational system, we did not ask you where you've been. We want to know where you are in relationship to where you want to be. So, relative to this subject, where are you? Does it feel like frustration? Does it feel like guilt? Does it feel like blame? Does it feel like hate? Where's your set point? Where are you? There is still frustration. Frustration is logical and light, much lighter than what you implied. So what's really going on?
I have felt all...
In other words, one of two things is happening. Either you're trying to make something that's not very bad feel worse, or you're trying to make something that really feels worse sound better.
Wow.
It's all right, everybody does it. A lot of times people say, I don't really want to verbalize what I'm feeling because I hate my mother. Or a lot of times people would say, for so many years I was disempowered by my mother, or I harbored resentment for my mother, or I'm afraid of my mother, or I'm just tired of my mother. I feel bound by my mother. I've had to give up my life for my mother. I'm no longer free because of my mother. Did we touch on anything?
All of it. All of the above I have entered. And so the biggest thing right now is the resentment that I still feel that I'm still having to take care of her. You know, I love her.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. None of that, so I love it. But of course you love her. Of course you want to love her, but that's not where your vibration usually is. And the way you feel is so apart from who you really are that you can hardly stand feeling like you feel. And so now you want to blame her all the more for the way you feel, because if circumstances were different, if she'd been different, if she'd allowed you to be different, or even if today she would be different, you would feel a lot better. And now you know that she's on the brink of dying, she's going to die, and then you're going to be left with all that guilt and all that grief. In other words, there's no hope for you. Go back to It's perfectly all right where you are. Nobody else gets to decide. You see, there are people who don't come even close to wanting to feel as good as you want to feel, who don't even come close to having the desire to have been of value like you do, that couldn't possibly understand how you feel because they don't understand what you want and they don't understand where you are. Nobody could accurately understand the discord that you're feeling or the discomfort that you're feeling because nobody else has access to your vibrational meter. They've all got their own. And so first thing you want to do is leave everybody else apart from this and just focus upon your own meter. And the first thing you've got to define is, where am I and where do I want to be? And where I am is really visceral. It's something that you feel. And where you want to be are just fleeting words that you can't really get any feeling going around because you can't even feel where you want to be. They're just words. I want to be joyful. I want to be free. But I feel like I'm in hell. I feel like I'm in bondage, you see. So that's all right. Feel where you are. And now let's start the work. So the work is to find some words or images that lighten the feeling and bring a little relief. So what is the emotion that we're trying to relieve ourselves from? What is the feeling? It feels like bondage. Does it feel like lack of freedom?
Lack of freedom. Oh, anger.
All right, so would you say it's more anger or bondage? Does it feel more like despair or anger? Does it feel more like I have no power in this, or I have power?
No power.
Feels like I have no power. So it feels more like despair than anger. It feels almost like futility, at least for now, doesn't it? Now, feel that for a moment and then say, this despair and this feeling of powerlessness is unacceptable. It is, isn't it? I'm not going to put up with that. And now reach for something that you do have access to, which is anger. And you've done that many times. And there have been so many times you've tried to talk yourself out of the anger because after all, anger is inappropriate. And it certainly, most of all, must be inappropriate when it's directed at your mother. In other words, there can be no least worthy target for anger in all of the universe than my very own mother, who after all gave me life. Oh, guilt. Now I've got guilt. Yeah. Where is guilt? Guilt's even worse than that. In other words, so here you are sort of wallowing around in all of that, and now make a decision. I'm going to find some relief. And so go to that thought of anger and say to yourself, beat the drum of the anger. This has been going on far too long. She's been far too dependent on me for so long. Other people should have helped me. I don't know how I got myself into this position. It's gone on long enough. I'm weary of it. Feel the anger of that, and most importantly, feel the improvement in the way you feel in your anger. Now, you've been there before, but you've never known then what you know now. And what you know now is you consciously moved from despair and powerlessness into anger. This time you're doing it, and for the first time, you're not embarrassed about doing it. You did it on purpose. So now, having done it on purpose, you're in control, you're in power. Can you feel how some of your powerlessness has dissipated just in your choosing the angry thought? Now, don't go blabbing to other people that you are joyful in your anger, because you'll never be joyful in anger. It's just a slight improvement. You might say things like, I'm breathing better. I feel better. I feel better. I feel better in this. I feel better. I feel better. And then just sort of settle into that angry groove with an ear to the ground for thoughts that you might think that would feel less angry. Now, don't lose sight of this. We're not trying to help you find a solution with your mother. We're not trying to get you to some end place. The universe is going to take care of that. We're just trying to get you into the groove of allowing the well-being to flow. We're just trying to get the pillow off your face, you see. So now ramble a little bit from your angry place and try to reach for something that you do have access to, which is not all the way to joyful ecstasy. Just talk about your life. Talk about what's going on. And as you talk, you'll know which way you're going. That's the only way you're going to know. In other words, you can't stand still, so you're projecting thoughts. All we're asking for is an awareness of which way the projected thought is going. We don't want you to stop your mind. You can't. We want you to just be aware of where the projected thought is going, and then just notice if it feels worse or if it feels better. So just talk about your life as you would to a girlfriend or to anyone who's listening.
It's hard being where I am.
It's hard being where I am, living the life that I'm living. Now, that's a pretty accurate statement of where you are, and it didn't move worse or better. Keep talking.
It would be nice if the time would come when I could make decisions for my life without having to, I'm going to go back.
It's all right. You can feel it, can't you? Because what you're saying, it will be nice when I'm able to make decisions. And then you immediately think, she's 97. How much longer can it be? In other words, it's going to be nice, but then you go into guilt. In other words, then you go into, I shouldn't be thinking these thoughts, I shouldn't be feeling this way. And so find another way of going around that. In other words, just reach for some relief. Keep talking until you find something that feels better. You see, what's been happening to you, you've been in this groove that we would call more frustration, irritation than anything, because it's just frustrating. It feels like lack of freedom, but we don't feel rage within you, and we don't really feel powerlessness or despair. We feel just a constant aggravating, irritating factor. And every time you try to bring yourself from it, you feel guilty, which takes you that way. And so you just go back and forth from irritation to guilt, irritation to guilt, irritation to guilt. That's sort of what your personality has become relative to this subject. It is our desire to bring you to a better feeling place so that when your mother dies, which is right around the corner, you won't go from irritation to guilt. In other words, that's really what we're wanting to help you do. We're wanting to help you stabilize so that no matter what happens, you'll be able to achieve the thought that will bring you the feeling. Because we can feel that there's some of that dread in there. In other words, you are irritated, guilty, scared to death that when she dies, you're going to lose control of the way you feel. You're afraid you're going to get what you've been wanting and then feel worse when you've got it. That's really what's going on with you.
Oh, that's...
Would you say that where you are in terms of this subject is where you were when you first arrived this morning?
Oh, no.
So already you've moved. Where do you find yourself right now? Emotionally. Where do you find yourself?
And you keep making it so hard.
Where do you find yourself on this? It's interesting that you say that, because we are giving you the keys to ease.
Yes. Yes. And is it my stubbornness, Mal? I walked right into that one, didn't I?
It's your habit of thought. It's your habit of approaching. But what we're attempting to do here with you is give you a new orientation, a new way of looking, a new goal.
Yeah.
A new, this is where I am and this is where I want to feel goal, because everything is tied to that. So it is a little bit different approach. We know that you, like almost everybody else, would like to explain more around it, but you keep getting it to talk and talk and talk.
Yes.
So where are you?
I have a sense of excitement inside of me in accepting that things can be different. I can feel different.
Yes.
I was saying to someone at lunch today, since I've heard your tapes, I have had days that when I didn't know what else to do with the feelings that I had going on, I started singing hymns of the church that I knew from childhood, from Jesus Loves Me right on up, and I spent the day in my yard working and singing hymns to not dwell on negative stuff.
Yes.
And I know how much better that felt.
Yes. We have some questions for you. Do you believe that it is possible for you, under your current circumstances, to feel wonderful? Or do you believe circumstances have to change before the way you feel will change?
I believe I can feel wonderful in the setting that I'm in.
Perfect. It's because we believe that you could feel wonderful in any setting that you're in. And that is worrisome to our physical friends, because then they suspect that we're just trying to get you to feel better so that you won't notice negative circumstances. And really, we're wanting to get you to feel better because that's what causes circumstances to change.
Yeah.
In other words, your mother could actually make her transition and you could actually get into a worse feeling place rather than a better feeling place. depending upon what thoughts you decide to choose around it. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for you to get yourself in that empowered place of feeling good anyway, and then you'll go right into ecstasy when circumstances shift a little bit and give you some of the freedom that you've been so much wanting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.